This is huge. But this Cisco is really special to me because of Monique Morrow. She is on our board of directors and has been such an influence in my life personally, and has been such a support for girls in tech in helping not only here in Silicon Valley, but around the world. So I'm sure you know she's an amazing woman. She has such a great story to share, and she's extremely selfless. So she goes above and beyond almost anybody I've ever known, except for probably my mom. but she's a very powerful force in the tech community. So she is one of my mentors, and I'm really, really happy to be here to support her company or companies she works for. So today we're going to talk a little bit about why the world needs more women in tech, but more specifically about the programs that Girls in Tech offers that you can all participate in and you can all get involved in terms of being able to teach and mentor and judge and be an advisor. So really, how are we building community within the startup world, the VC world, the high-tech world, institutions and organizations like Girls in Tech? That is our mission and that is our goal. So first off and foremost, something that, now I'm going to butcher your name. Sarpil, okay. So I would like us to start out by turning to your neighbor and saying one thing that you're really, really passionate about in life. One thing that's really special to you, that you're passionate, it doesn't have to be work-related, just something you're really passionate about. Because what I've noticed in speaking at many different companies is that you can work right next door to somebody and have no idea what they're passionate about, what their real passion is in life. So why don't we take a couple minutes to talk to your neighbor and tell them what you're passionate about. Oh, thank you, yeah. Thank you. Oh, no, we can turn it down. Turn it down. We wanted the lights down. Oh, they can't see, okay. No worries, no. Oh, okay. No worries. Because there's a little glare, but it's fine. Okay. Okay, gotcha. Can they hear me now? Yeah. So why don't we take a couple more seconds and wrap up what you're passionate about. What was that? Oh, okay. Sure, 100%, yeah. Great. I like to hear these voices. Communication is key. Sharing is key. So, in continuing with the presentation, I'm so excited that you guys had a lot to talk about. I wanted to share a little bit about what I'm passionate about, what moves me, and a little bit about my personal history. First, just a quick observation of the diversity in the room. I think it's something that Cisco should be very happy about. because I very rarely see this much diversity, and it's not only gender diversity, but women of all of different races. So it's really important to uphold that and building a culture within a company. So that's very exciting. And yes. And that is one thing I'm very, very passionate about in building Girls in Tech. My background is Mexican, Japanese, French, American. So yes, it's a little bit random, but it's very important for me personally to give back to the communities, the underrepresented communities and communities that don't have as many resources. So I will talk about Girls in Tech in a second, but that's the reason why a lot of what we're focusing on in the next 2 years is in the emerging markets and underserved populations. So we'll talk about that a little bit. So I started Girls in Tech in 2007, and that was in San Francisco, California. And I was working at a startup called Gooba. It's much like YouTube, but it's more like Netflix and YouTube combined. And we grew the company from 10 people to 30 people to 50 people. And in that growth period, I was always the only female. And I tried to provide recruitment strategies, and I would go networking to networking events myself. I would go to universities, and people didn't listen. They didn't care. Or it was just sort of like, oh, you know, it's all about merit. So if they're not applying, then they shouldn't get the job anyway. So I got a lot of pushback. But fundamentally, it was affecting product development. It was affecting product marketing. It was affecting the company culture in a huge way. I personally, I'm not going to talk about this in depth, but there are 3 or 4 sexual harassment things that I'm not a litigious person and I never move forward with that, but it exists. And if we brush it under the rug, it's just going to keep on happening. So after all of this experience, loving working at a startup, loving the product, but not really loving the fact that I was the only female in the company, I decided to go out on my own and start Girls in Tech. And I really didn't know what was going to become of the organization. All I know is we needed something to happen. And if the company wasn't going to do it, I was going to do it on my own. So my friend, Jonathan Abrams, does anybody know him, founder of Friendster? He's partial owner of a dance club in San Francisco called Slide. He said, just go ahead and use it. And so my friend created a logo and slapped it on a website, and we had a big launch event. It was more for networking purposes, for women like yourselves to come together, share ideas, collaborate, tell each other stories, maybe recruit, et cetera. And we had over 200 people come to that first event. So from 6 to 9 p.m., it was open to all women. And then from 9 to the end of the closing of the club, it was open to men as well. And so it was really hilarious. We had a line all the way around the block. So everyone is really super excited to meet women in tech. We have it on video, actually. It's really great. So what was really neat for me is I felt like I wasn't alone. I felt that there were women out there who are experiencing the exact same thing, and if we come together to collaborate and become friends and share stories and build companies together, there's no stopping us. There really is no stopping us. The sky is the limit. And that goes for startups as well as high-tech companies. So after this event, I just had a major epiphany and said, you know, there's such high demand now, I can't just stop. So I started collecting my Silicon Valley network and had panel discussions and conferences and workshops, and we started building curriculum with Stanford and UC Berkeley and other venture capitalists and NASA, and everyone started coming forward, which is so awesome. You know, everyone wanted to be a part of this movement. Then we started piloting programs and trademarking our curriculum and opening chapters in the United States. So we went from LA to New York to Chicago to Atlanta, and then we started opening up our doors globally. So now, cut to 9+ years later, we are in 58 cities around the world, in 33 countries, and in 6 continents. We just launched in Australia last week. That's why I have bags under my eyes. But it's really, really powerful to see the growth and powerful to see the impact that we're making, not only for women here in Silicon Valley, but around the world. So we want you guys to be involved, and this is how. So just a couple of statistics that I wanted to share. Some of this you already know, but they're pretty dismal statistics about women in the tech industry. Since we are a global organization, we capture statistics from all over the world that impact our user group. So 7% of tech positions in Europe are filled by women. That is really depressing. Leadership across the board under 20% around the world. 18.1% in the US. I mean, pretty depressing statistics. And why is this happening? There's three major reasons that studies have shown in many surveys, both at startups and high-tech companies. Gender stereotypes, lack of talent pool, and in-group favoritism. So gender stereotypes really happen at a young age. It's when girls and boys are taught that they can love STEM or do well in the STEM fields or not. And this is because of the media and messaging that kids receive in the media. It's because of parents. It's because of teachers. It's because of counselors. I personally had a story where I was getting a B+ average in math. Not horrible, but I could do better probably in algebra. And I got a tutor, and my counselor pulled me aside and said, you know what, you're never going to do well in the STEM fields, so you probably shouldn't apply to MIT or Stanford or any of the more technical schools. And so I didn't. And I never pushed myself to learn more. I never pushed myself to go the extra mile to apply for that school. And I don't think I was the only one. So this outdated sort of mentality needs to change. Even if you get really bad grades in math, you know what? It's okay because math is very different than coding, as we all know. So I think we need to encourage more girls to get into the STEM fields, realize that science and math is cool and we can actually excel in these fields. So it's really important to break down these gender stereotypes. Also, many studies have shown that boys and girls get the same exact test results in science and math at a young age. It's just the way they grow into it, and if they decide to get a major later on, you see a huge drop-off around middle school age range. And that is connected to the lack of talent pool. So if you don't have that many people many girls getting an education in computer science or in the STEM fields, then you don't have that many women applying for jobs. And so you have a leaky pipeline issue, and then that becomes really a problem because you have a huge disparity in the tech world. And that is something that we can discuss a little bit later in terms of recruitment strategies and other types of activities. And in-group favoritism, the last one, is basically the notion that HR people and people that you work with, executives, and this is also a thing with VCs, psychologically connect with people that are like themselves or like similar looking. They like the same activities. They talk sort of the same way, and that builds trust, and there is that favoritism. So we need to break down those barriers because that inhibits people from actually excelling in their own jobs, getting raises and promotions, and even having the opportunity to test out new projects, to get involved in new product development. And my friend in Tesla actually had this issue. She's a senior firmware engineer. She's the only female out of 60, and they all have you know, the men get together and talk offline and have beers and things like that. And she said, you know what, they don't really include me. And they talk about work when they go out and have beers. So this is a huge issue because I feel the next day when I go back into work, I feel really out of the loop. They've already started on development cycles for this new product, and they've already left me out. They've already decided to leave me out. So this is a huge issue for her that she is trying to work out, and hopefully will be fixed soon. So these are three of the primary issues. And yeah, go ahead. Yes. She asked what works in these situations in terms of finding. Yeah, I think that is the responsibility of the supervisor or the executive, the manager leading that group. They have to make sure that everyone is included. and that everyone has the same opportunities for leadership and participating in product development, being challenged with those activities. I think that definitely is an HR policy as well, because they need to make sure, they need to monitor who's involved in the projects. Because if you don't have diversity in product development, then you won't have a comprehensive product, right? So you need to make sure that that is part of the policies. So I would say that's supervisor and HR. So here's some other statistics that we looked up in our research, and again, pretty dismal statistics, but it means the whole world is aware of what is going on and the scarcity of women in the tech sector. Women are 45% more likely to leave within a year than men. They're 52% of people say they're aware of women being paid less than men for doing the same exact job, and 73% of people believe that the tech industry is sexist. So this is relevant statistics from this year, and you can see it's pretty depressing stats. But on the brighter side, having women as an executive or C-level means that you have higher valuations, you have higher revenue potential, and if you have a woman on your board, you have higher return on sales. So it's really important to have a diversity in terms of your executives and women on the board, as well as women in your staff. Another statistic about making sure that we have more women in tech roles to help break the cycle of a male-dominated industry. 39% of employers that need STEM skills have reported difficulty in recruiting staff. So this is an issue, but we are helping solve this by recruitment strategies of tech companies. So what are we doing? And I'll go through this slide pretty fast because I want to talk more about the programs and answer any questions that you might have. We're improving education, champion more role models, so mentors as well as sponsors, people who are accountable for the success of women in their careers, challenge negative stereotypes, as I was discussing before, and strengthening networking mentoring opportunities. So creating a community where you can actually engage and network with like-minded, powerful women like yourselves that are high achievers, that have other resources that they can share and really grow within that. If they have recruitment opportunities, job opportunities, if you want to come together and build a company together, that's what we're trying to do through the Girls in Tech initiative. So some of the programs that we actually are activating, and we actually pilot them out here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley, and then we distribute them around the world, are our boot camps. So that the focus is coding, design. We have soft skill building boot camps, or leadership, confidence skill building, and those are 3 different levels. So we have beginner, intermediate, and advanced, because the majority of the women within our network are mid-career level. We also have some executives and some junior level and university students, but I would say the majority are mid-career level. We have our Catalyst Conference, which is basically a 3-day conference. This year we're having it in Phoenix, Arizona, and we showcase female executives that have achieved a great level of success and milestones in their career. So they come together to share their story and best practices and skills that they've built along the way. And it gives an opportunity to showcase role models and mentors that exist in high tech. And Monique will be speaking at this event as well. Our Global Classroom, it's basically an e-learning platform that teaches coding and design, how to build websites to women all over the world. Our Hackathons, our Lady Pitch Night competition is actually the the largest women's business pitch competition in the world now. We have our mentorship program, GIT Work, which is work enhancement programs and curriculum, and then our exchange program, which brings together 20 to 30 female entrepreneurs from another country so that they can really experience Silicon Valley and understand what makes this area of the world tick. So some of our boot camps, Sarah Pohl and I talked about what would be interesting for you all in sort of enhancing your career skills, and these are some of the things that I think in terms of medium to more advanced level would be interesting to you. So we have all of these coding courses. like I said before, we work with UC Berkeley, Stanford D School, as well as General Assembly, and we share workshop leaders. So they basically are seasoned in teaching Python, SQL, C++, PHP, Ruby on Rails, and we do 2 to 3 day boot camps, pretty intense boot camps where you learn how to code. We have different themes and projects. Design workshops, product development workshops, entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, and leadership and confidence skill building. We also have themed hackathons. So we had a sports one recently with ESPN. It was for the Super Bowl. We had about 175 applicants, and then we had 14 apps that were built as a result. Healthcare, gaming, social good apps were built, IoT hackathons, and iOS and Android hackathons. So how can you all get involved? This is definitely something that I wanted to focus on because I think it's the tech industry is a little bit fragmented in that everyone just works on their own objective and their own project, and we see that with accelerators, with VCs, with organizations, and also with high-tech companies. So what we're trying to do is sort of bridge the divide to make sure that we're all working together and we share each other's resources. So we'd love for you to participate in a boot camp. That means go to the sessions and learn advanced education, be involved in a hackathon, be a part of a group, build an app, teach a boot camp. So I know many of you are seasoned engineers and designers, product developers. So if you want to pay it forward, if you're interested in teaching a boot camp, we can offer that up if it makes sense. Be a mentor. So we have a lot of younger university students that are really excited about entering into the tech field, but are a little bit lost. So it'd be great if we could match make you more experienced professionals within the tech sector to teach and engage with these younger women so they can get excited about it and answer any questions that they might have. Be an advisor and a judge, of course. A judge, basically we have our business pitch competition, and that actually you can participate as a judge and judge these women's products, and it's always a lot of fun. Do you have any questions about that part? Yeah. So they're mainly professional women. Yes, yeah. So what is the age group of people participating in these programs? So it's primarily women, professional women in tech. So mid-level career, we have some junior level, entry-level women in tech, some executives, but I would say it's primarily mid-level. And we also have university students, depending on the level of the class. So we have beginner, medium, intermediate, and advanced. Then they will choose the course, right? But we never limit it or say high school girls cannot attend, because they do. We've even had 5-year-olds attend some of the workshops. Yeah, so it really is open to all, and also men. There's one in the room represented. Everyone's invited. There are 2, sorry. They're always invited to participate in these courses. So we definitely encourage that. And it's really great to see high schoolers come to these events too, because they actually see these role models and get more excited about participating. Yeah. Do they charge for participating? So there is. Yeah, there is a charge for participating in the boot camps. Typically, it is very low, around $35, but depending on how long it is, some of them are 3 days, and those are a little bit more. But it's just really to cover the minimal cost. But we do have some companies like to sponsor the boot camps where we come in and actually teach the courses to the company, and in that case, it would be free to the employees. Go ahead. It happens around, these programs happen around the world. So we pilot them in the United States, and when we perfect them, and we trademark them, and then we distribute them around the world. So we have a lot of our workshop leaders or subject matter experts seasoned on this curriculum, and then we fly them over to teach the courses in different areas. Or we find a subject matter expert in that city that can teach the course. Obviously, language and cultural nuances play a role in this. So right now, for example, we're teaching several boot camps on entrepreneurship in Amsterdam and Paris, in Singapore, Nigeria, and Macedonia. Yeah. So do the boot camps just focus on coding skills or other things? Other things as well. So there's a slide that I showed earlier. So design, product development, entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, and leadership and confidence skill building. And those are all very interactive, engaging boot camps, because we've done a lot of research and it shows that just a lecture isn't really going to teach much and you won't retain as much. So we make sure that the subject matter experts are trained in interactive, engaging type of role-playing exercises, or roll up your sleeves and do some of the work. But the entrepreneurship and intrapreneurship, as well as the leadership and confidence boot camps, are very popular, especially in emerging markets. In India, this is probably the most popular one, because they're geniuses over there. They're high scores in computer science, but they don't have the leadership and confidence skill building and entrepreneurship. So we're trying to teach that and instill those values and those skills so that they can go on and start their own companies. Sure.
First one is, where do these boot camps take place?
Where do the boot camps take place? They take place all over the world. Yeah. The website, so girlsintech.org has a listing of all of our chapter sites, and each chapter sites have a listing of all of the events, so you can see what's happening around the world. Yes, the Twitter is @girlsintech. Yes, and they can sign up on girlsintech.org. There is a mailing list where you can submit your information and your email, and then you'll be informed of all of our events and programs.
Is there only coding-related camps? What about other areas like learning, networking, like CCN as networking?
Well, we're always open to include more boot camps on different topics. I think that would be great, and we would love to have someone like you teach it. So we're always open to that, and I think that's sort of why we're bridging these relationships with high-tech companies, because we see the value in not only teaching enhanced skills and advanced learning, but also getting you all involved to be able to teach the younger generation. I think it's a very powerful connection, and paying it forward really is fulfilling. So we would love to do more boot camps in other areas. The global classroom, the question was about the global classroom and if we teach underprivileged children. So the great thing about the global classroom is that it's accessible from anywhere and for everyone. So the pilot program that we had last year had 187 women, primarily from the ages of 13 to 18. So it was really interesting to see the statistics, because typically we target a little later on after university. So anyone can access it. It's a matter of having the device and having bandwidth, and that's really all you need. So, and that program is free. So we're trying to increase the number of people around the world that can access this or that know about it, so they can sign up and learn. It's an 8-week course online.
You mentioned that earlier slide around
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yes, I will. I'm on it. So he asked, are we focusing any of our curriculum for the younger generation so we don't see the drop-off of girls in the middle school age range? And the question is, our focus is mainly professional women and university. However, we do one-off workshops that are meant to inspire and get girls excited. So we do iOS and Android building workshops. We do business plan building workshops. We have some field trips for some schools. But really our focus, we can't be spread too thin, but we see the value in it. So we have partnered with Technovation, with Girls Who Code, and some other organizations that really that is their target audience, and they do that well. So we want to encourage and empower them and share our resources when we can, but if that's exactly what they're doing right now, we don't want to overlap efforts, but that is a priority.
Question from Rebecca. What does being a mentor entail? Do you meet one-on-one?
So it depends on the format, but typically our mentors are really busy people. So we definitely encourage them to come to the first event so you can engage with them and meet them face-to-face, get to know, put a name to the face. And then afterwards, depending on the program and the length of the program, you usually have e-mentorship opportunities. So we have a Slack, a Skype connection, email, Twitter. You can really engage with them in many different ways. And they are committed to at least speaking with the mentee once a week. So the e-mentorship program is definitely something that's really high engagement and gives the opportunity, if it's a boot camp or another program, if you have questions or need support or even want to shadow and go to work with that mentor, that has happened in the past, which I think is very valuable because you get that influence, you get to see what it's like to work in the tech industry, and you feel that support from that person. They are actively involved in the success of you in your company or your internship. So that's very important that they know that they have that support, because it's very rare that you have your support from your parents to that level, to that extent, or anybody else. So it's important that we activate those programs. Any other questions? Yeah, that's a really good question. She asked, once a woman leaves the workforce to have a family, it's very difficult for her to come back. And that is something that is now sort of a hot button topic that I think a lot of different high-tech companies are creating solutions for. And we are actually putting that within our sort of agenda for this year, because we see such a huge drop-off. It's 40% of mid-level career women actually leave the workforce to start a family, and it is very challenging for them to come back because typically those departments end up getting used to them not being around, or they end up filling the positions. So it's very difficult for them to come back after having kids, and a lot of times they feel more comfortable just staying at home or telecommuting, and that might not be an option for them. So in terms of working with HR divisions and with the executives, specifically on our board, and then also other companies that we're partnering with, we have a recruitment package as well as a retention package, because once you get the women through the pipeline, you have to actually make them happy and retain them. So it's a flexible work environment, it's telecommuting, it's more paid leave for mothers, more time off for fathers, more training programs, things like that. So how do we actually make it more appealing for them to stay and come back and have a place after they leave? So we're working on putting that together, but we don't have something in place right now. So we talked about the hackathons and how you can get involved. These are just some photos from some of our other chapters. Nigeria on the bottom, India, and Macedonia. So we have experienced massive growth. We have at least 29,000 members now in our network around the world, and I would say the largest chapter outside of the United States is in the UK, and the largest chapter inside the United States is San Francisco. But it's really exciting to see everybody just being a part of the movement and sharing the curriculum and programming that we've created here to their tech communities. And then this is one of our boot camps, our coding boot camps. The top was Ruby on Rails, and the second one was, I believe, Python. So we built a team there. So she asked, how do we build chapters around the world? We basically work with one person, a very passionate, driven person who's really excited about girls in tech and bringing that to their community. They bring on a co-managing director or do it themselves, and then they build an advisory board. So their advisory board is 5 to 8 people who take on different roles within the organization. So whether it's sponsorship or business development or web design or events production, they help support the chapter. So when they have established this team, this group of people, then they start planning their launch event to create awareness and bring the community together. So all the major stakeholders, the government, different institutions, VCs, accelerators, incubators, the media, everyone gets involved in that. And once you get everyone involved in that first event, it becomes a lot easier to start executing, creating awareness, and getting people to the events. As a corporate entity, we advise each of these managing directors and teams on the ecosystem and work with them to understand what the cultural nuances are, what the need is for the women in tech in their city, and then we customize a program for them. So some are more boot camp, they like the education part of it. Some are already ripe enough where they can do the Lady Pitch Night or the Catalyst Conference. So it just really depends on the maturity of the tech ecosystem there. That's a really good question. How do I find that one very passionate person in that city, in that random country? So they always have come to me. So I've never once had to reach out to anybody, and actually I have to reject people now because it's like a lot of work. I mean, a lot of people are very excited about participating. We have an interview process. So 3 people from the corporate team interview this person, usually via Skype. And once we get the green light, we do a reference checks, we do background checks, and then we end up providing them with an EPK, so an electronic press kit, which has all the information about the organization, our messaging, our guidelines, our formatting, and all of that. And then they're supposed to customize it, take this information, and launch the chapter. Yeah. So this is our hackathon that we recently had, the Super Bowl hackathon. We had ESPN and IBM were involved in this. And that's it from that side. Do you guys have any other questions? Sure. So Lady Pitch Night is our trademark women's business pitch competition. We basically encourage women with a product idea, first-time entrepreneurs or serial entrepreneurs that are looking for seed funding to come and pitch their product. So we started this in France, in Paris, France, 5 years ago. And the last one that we had was, we had 288 applicants from 22 countries. So we decided to launch this in many other regions around the world. Then we had one in San Francisco in November. We had 187 applicants. And then 10 of the finalists come and pitch live, the ones with the top scores. And then at the actual event, we have a panel of judges who then decides who the final winner is. And whoever wins gets $25,000 seed funding. And it was really exciting to see that the 10 finalists in San Francisco, 9 out of the 10 were actually social good, healthcare, education products. So there is a connection between really products that make an impact and are changing the world on a global scale, on a massive scale, when women are on the forefront, when women are the executives and the CEOs. So we were really excited to share that information, and that's sort of the case across the board with a lot of our chapters that produced this conference. So now we're just going to do a quick role-playing exercise just to mix it up a little bit. Let's see, we have the documents here. Is there anyone that can help pass them out? Yeah, thank you so much. So either have role play 1 or role play 2. Thank you. 10, okay, we have 10 minutes. And this role play exercise is just about leadership and what you would do in certain scenarios with an associate. And one person should be the manager or the supervisor, and the other person should be the employee. Is that right? Yeah, the role play 1. Yeah. Let's see. Oh no, it's yes. So it's really just one for both of you. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. I think they have enough. Yeah. So, yeah, so this role-playing exercise is about leadership given a difficult situation, how you would deal with it from a supervisor to an employee or manager to employee and vice versa. So these different scenarios, if you can read through them and find one partner first and then read through them and then discuss it. Discuss how you would engage and interact given that situation. It's 2. Yeah, sorry. There's someone here? Yeah, make sure you match up with somebody before you start reading that. So you have to have a partner first. Yeah, take it. No worries. No worries. Ooh. No. Sorry, it was a little rushed. So after you're done reading through your role-playing documents, then you just engage with your partner and see how you would deal with that situation. And then we'll, if we have time, we'll talk about it. Hi, how are you? Nice to meet you. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy.
She wants to start something in India for women. She does information mapping, like online documentation tools, and I think she'd be very much interested in this.
Oh, that'd be great.
So you are a non-profit organization?
We're a nonprofit, yeah. Nonprofit in the United States and also nonprofit in India. So I could introduce you to her. The head is Shri Divya, and she is an amazing woman. She, touches something and it turns to gold. So it'd be great to actually be able to get your sister involved.
She's based in Bangalore? Or?
She's in Hyderabad, but we do events in Bangalore and Delhi, and yeah, so I'll be there in March producing some of the events, the Entrepreneur Boot Camp. So yeah, if you give me her email and your email, then I can definitely, connect you. Yeah. Yeah. So get involved by being a mentor, get involved by teaching a course, perhaps, being an advisor, participating in a program. So yeah, if you get on the mailing list, we also have a chapter here in San Francisco, Silicon Valley. So they do events consistently, ranging from networking to boot camp to bigger conferences. So if you're on the mailing list, we can definitely make sure that you get all that information. But we have a blog, so you can read the blog. You can be a guest blogger as well if you have interesting things to write about. We're always trying to feature women that are, a big part of the community, helping make change, things like that. So yeah, definitely. Okay. So I don't think we actually have enough time to actually talk about the role playing, but I recommend you guys to go back and maybe keep those and work on it with your partner. You could learn a lot about yourself and a lot about management and leadership skills. So sorry that we didn't have enough time to finish the activity, but yeah.
I just want to take a minute to, sorry to interrupt you. I'm so glad you are actually getting into it, and you're welcome to continue, by the way. We have the room. But I wanted to take a minute to thank Adriana for coming to us, coming to Cisco and sharing her.
Thank you. Thank you.
I also want to thank Christina Vargas, my program manager, for putting these events every month. And our volunteers from WIT. Thank you so much. I want to make sure everybody meets here on time. I apologize for cutting it, but I'm going to send out a survey at the end, and if you can fill that out, I'd really appreciate it. It's very short, but I read every comment, and I try to make incremental changes to make it better, and I value that very much. Next month, we're going to have a senior vice president from Verizon. She is a wonderful person. I've known her for many years. She's a veteran in the networking industry, talking about some of the Verizon product directions. So I'll send out the announcement later this week. Thank you very much.